You think you've got a high pain threshold. Well, that has its value in some situations, but this video is going to explain why it can be a disadvantage for those people who say they've got a high pain threshold and they have persistent pain. What's the issue with having a high pain threshold or saying you've got a high pain threshold? Well, it's fine if there's a cup final and you want to push through the last 10 minutes as you twisted your ankle and you want to score the winning goal and you stay on, that's fine. It's fine if there's an emotional situation you want to power through and get sorted in the short term, that's fine. But there's a danger and a vulnerability in those people who believe they've got a high pain threshold and they say they've got a high pain threshold if they use it over the longer term. My name is Drew Coverdale. I'm a physiotherapist to help patients reverse the process of persistent pain, the habitual patterns, the unconscious reactive behaviours the person may know they've got, but mostly they don't. And once you can create an awareness of those behaviours, you can reverse those behaviours, reverse the reaction, reverse the breathing, the thoughts, the emotional charges attached to that, and the physical responses to all of that that encapsulates pain, and you can help them become pain-free. If you're interested in this video or similar like it, then click on the like or subscribe and stay up to date with similar content. So a high pain threshold. I've got a high pain threshold. I hear that so many times with people who've got persistent pain. It's sometimes worn like a badge of honour, that this person can tolerate so much more than everybody else. So they're dropping like flies, all these other people, and this person with a high pain threshold, well, they can crack on. That's great. I'd like to say I've got a high pain threshold, and that might help you become a professional footballer because you don't moan about the kicks and twists and turns that you get, that you almost have to deal with to get to that level. If you've got to go through a grueling study process and that emotionally is difficult and challenging and you can push through that to achieve something, yeah, that's okay too. You're allowed to have it. You're allowed to show that resilience in the short term. But if you think I've got a high pain threshold is a good thing to have over the longer term, over that long invisible level of stress that this person miss because their set point is their identity is that they almost must have this higher level than anybody else can have, it's dangerous and they're making a mistake. If there's no pain in their life constantly or no constant pattern of pain, physical or emotional or any other kind of situation, that's okay. But if there is persistent pain and someone says I've got a high pain threshold, they're making a mistake. It isn't their fault, but they've always been led to believe they have to push through. And this statement defines it. I've got a high pain threshold. I can live with the pain. The pain's there, but I don't mind. I hear it all the time. And the person is saying this as if it's a good thing to have. And it is for the short term, but not for long term. You can't keep pushing through consistently. It's like there's a default to pain that means I only ever push through with pain. It's a bit like saying if I had a poorly tummy, I only ever eat a sandwich to make it feel better. Well, yeah, that's okay if it's hunger, but if it's anxiety, you'll just create an association with that poorly tummy and eating food to try and remedy it, and it never will. And if you've got the runs and it's a poorly tummy, it'll always go wrong with the same behaviour of just eating food. So you have to be able to interpret pain, interpret a sensation and make the right decision. And it's exactly the same with pain. And if the identity of that person is I always only ever push through, don't be surprised if that default behaviour doesn't work with pain and actually creates more of it. So soften your focus on that identity that you think you always have to wear. I've got a high pain threshold like a badge of honour. Be something you can let it be something you can put on and take off. You can choose to push through with pain, but actually with persistent pain, it's about hitting under the radar consistently, a different breathing pattern, a different movement pattern, a different intent in all of those things, a different emotional expression in the presence of pain, and different thought processes. Very counterintuitive to say, or to find yourself not saying I'll push through. But if you can step back from those conditioned thoughts, conditioned patterns of behavior, because that's exactly what they are learned behaviors, either through experience that they helped someone get through, or they just observed other people using those behaviors and they've copied them. And yes, they might achieve things through that. Yes, pushing through pain socially might be rewarded financially, certificate wise, admiration of other people in the short term and sometimes in the long term. And if the body and mind of that person has no pain, then they've got the balance right. But if they're constantly pushing and then they have a condition, a disease process, a label, a painful situation physically or emotionally, and they keep on saying, oh, but I've got a high pain threshold, it's a paradox. It's a paradox. The body is telling them they're doing too much. The body is trying to express how difficult time it has in dealing with the situation. And the other side of that person's conscious intent is, well, I don't care about the difficulty I'm experiencing, I'm happy to accept it. If I said to this person who says I've got a high pain threshold, and I rephrased the question and said, how would it feel if, are you happy that you'll accept more pain than most of the people you know? And they might say yes to that. If I said to them, are you happy to be more unkind to your own system, to be more unkind to yourself than most of the people you know? How would that sound? It's certainly a different perspective to take on pain. Do you think so little of yourself that you'd be more unkind to yourself than most of the people? Well, it's not so quick at saying yes for that. So just want to illustrate that badge, that description, that default, I've got a high pain threshold. Be a bit more selective with it. And if you've got persistent pain, it's time to start taking that badge off. Put another one on saying you're worth doing less and attending to yourself with different behaviours. And that process gives you much better opportunity of reversing the patterns that have created the persistent pain, and it gives you much better potential for reversing the pain.